from Swim England, and Swim England is the national governing body for swimming. My role is National Aquatics Competency Manager for school swimming. So my role and remit is to support with the improvement of school swimming and water safety nationally from a more strategic perspective. Currently working with the Department for Education and the Association for PE in many guises, but yes, sort of really working on improving school swimming to ensure that there is high quality PE lessons. So just a brief disclaimer that if you do change anything after today's session, please ensure that you are communicating with your pool swimming lesson provider, your head teacher, and reviewing your risk assessment off the back of any changes. So today's session will be looking at how to increase knowledge, your knowledge as an individual to support within your school swimming and water safety programme, and how you can look at increasing dry side participation as well for school swimming and water safety. Sometimes schools believe that it is only the swimming lesson provider that can improve school swimming, but there's lots of chances throughout a whole school approach to improve school swimming and water safety. So school swimming is such an important subject, and it's the only lesson that can save a life. Phonics isn't going to save a life. School swimming and water safety should be really, really high up your school's priorities. And when we think about the National Child Mortality Database and the number of child deaths due to drowning, fatal drownings, they did increase up to 2023 and they have now started to level off. But this is an area, obviously, that every single person should be working towards to ensure that the young people that they work with are aware of how to identify hazards and risks, and also that they have adequate school swimming and water safety lessons so that if they do end up in an emergency situation in the water, they have got the skills and knowledge to save themselves in an aquatic emergency. So the national curriculum, the PE element of the national curriculum, has school swimming and water safety within that programme of study. And there are 3 key areas that a young person should be able to do before they leave year 6. They should be able to perform safe self-rescue in a range of different water-based situations. So that would include sort of turbulent water, still water, moving water, cold water, whilst wearing clothing. So there's lots of situations and scenarios that they can perform safe self-rescue. They should be able to swim competently and confidently over a distance of at least 25 metres. So that's where they've got a lovely strong stroke, where the stroke is as strong at the end as it was at the start. So they're not showing signs of being extremely tired, or the stroke isn't deteriorating throughout that 25-metre swim. And they're not swimming what I would class as desperation doggy paddle, where they're really struggling to complete the length. And they should be able to use a range of strokes effectively to include front crawl, backstroke and breaststroke. So thinking about those 3 areas of the national curriculum, the most important is the safe self-rescue element. When you look at your PE and Sports Premium reporting tool, your digital tool, 25 metres will be the first question. But as an NGB, we put the safe self-rescue as the #1 priority, because that is the most important skills for a young person to learn. If somebody was to fall into water for an unintended entry, they're not likely to swim 25 metres. They're likely to rotate onto the back and perform a star float, or be able to signal for help, or be able to take up a piece of floating equipment that they can hold to keep their head above the water. So those safe self-rescue skills are really, really important. And those skills begin at school. So before the children go to the pool for the first time, pre-swimming familiarisation is really, really important. There is a range of information that a child should know before they visit the pool, so that that first school swimming and water safety lesson isn't wasted with rules and regulations on poolside, going through what the fire drill would be, going through what 3 whistles means. There's lots of information that can be given at school in collaboration with your school swimming lesson provider, so that once the children go onto poolside, they're ready to commence active learning in the water and not having to listen to rules and regulations while sat on poolside. That's really important, particularly if your school swimming programme is only short. If you only have a relatively short number of lessons, that lesson 1 is really important to get them in and moving. And there's a great range of activities that can be taught before the first school swimming lesson. So fundamental movement skills that relate to the pool, that help that young person be balanced and orientated in the water on lesson 1. So setting your ground rules with the class that you're working with, get them to collaborate. So co-collaboration on producing those rules so that they're aware of what the ground rules are before they go to the pool. And they should make sure that they're adhering to those rules during the lessons, right from lesson 1 as soon as they arrive at the swimming pool. So if you can, as a group of staff, get the children involved, contributing to what the rules are, hopefully you'll get that better buy-in from them and that collaboration. So some examples of rules and information that you can be giving the children before they go to the pool is making sure that they go to the toilet before they go swimming, wearing a swimming hat or tying the hair back, the importance of showering before and after lessons, and going through the reason why you shower after as well as before to wash that chlorine off your skin to keep your skin from getting dry and sore. The importance of having clean swimming kit and a clean towel, and give some examples of what the swimming kit looks like. On the Oak National Academy, which I will go through a little bit more information about the resources there is an activity that you can do on Oak National Academy that shows you the importance of selecting the correct swimming kit to be able to learn to swim. They need to be taking responsibility for their own kit, so discussing why it's important to rinse your swimming kit after each lesson and hanging it up to dry at home. That reinforcement of no running, to be calmly walking around the pool and the leisure centre or pool hall, leaving jewellery at home, only entering the pool when the swimming teacher asks them to do so, and ensuring that they're listening and trying the best and being kind to others. So setting those ground rules, co-collaboration with the pupils really does help. But on the screen now are some of the physical activities that the children can do at school to prepare them for their first school swimming and water safety lesson. If these activities are covered before and during their programme, it makes the progressions much quicker. Particular skills to cover before the first lesson are swivel entry, how to get into the water safely where they're not going to scrape the back on the pool side, so turn into swivel to enter the water. All these activities that you can see on the screen, there is corresponding video and scheme of work, which is part of the Swim England School Swimming and Water Safety Charter. I will go on to that later in this presentation, but there are videos that show you how to perform each of these skills so that you can then support the children that you're working with to be able to perform the skills. So swivel entry is how to turn and get into the pool safely. Exits, you can use a gymnastics table for the children to practice pushing up and putting the knee on the gymnastics table so that they'll be able to climb out quickly in an emergency if needed to. They can practice the arm action, moving it around. That could be as part of wake up, shake up activities. So for example, if they normally turn and put their thumbs up towards a partner, can they turn and do a swimming action towards a partner? Sitting on a bench and performing leg action. A real one that swimming lesson providers really struggle with is getting children to point the toes. When we walk, run, jump, our feet are always dorsiflexed, whereas in swimming, a lot of the swimming actions, the toes need to be pointed, and the children do struggle with that. So working on champion toes in gymnastics, pointing the toes, refer to, and these are the toes that we use when we're swimming as well. Log rolls, so being in stretched positions and rolling over really does help. Practicing sculling, even if you have water trays or you have 2 cloths and they have to polish a table with the cloths, getting that sculling action going really helps to perform a lot of skills. The heat escape lessening position, there is a video for that on the charter, and it's where they either wear or hold a piece of floating equipment, put their arms across the chest and bend the knees in a seated position. They can practice that at any point during any lesson when they're sat on a chair. You could do it as a callback, as a way of getting attention, do the help position. The huddle position is a position what they go in to retain heat if they're in a group where they're waiting for help. So again, all these resources, there are corresponding videos for you to go through to support these dry side activities. You can do water safety games, push and glide, jumping up, spring jumps, And the regaining feet one, which is an adapted burpees, is the most important skill that you can teach to your children before they go to the pool for the first lesson. If you've got any children that have not been swimming before, then having a go at doing burpees before they go to the first school swimming lesson, if they are to lose their balance and they know that they need to bend their knees, pull with their hands and lift their head, it will stop a rescue from having to be performed because they're able to regain the feet. The children can practice land-based rescues, what they would do if somebody else was in an emergency in the water. They can plan artistic swimming routines, lie on mats and perform star floats. They can practice signalling for help and doing the Royal Life Saving Society drowning prevention activities at school. So I know that that was a little bit of a whirlwind of activities that can be done, but like what I say, there are corresponding resources to support you if you do go onto the charter and have a look at them. So water safety, as well as being taught within the PE lessons as part of swimming and water safety, it should be being taught as a whole school approach as well, right through from reception, right the way through school to children and young people being at the age of 19. So every single year group, regardless of who you're working with, the water safety code should be being taught in an age appropriate way, thinking about the 4 messages that are on the water safety code. So, for example, stop and think, always swim in a safe place, having conversations about where would be safe to swim, what hazards might you spot to identify that it isn't a safe place to swim, what signage might they see. So you could do photos, videos, you could do day trips where you're showing the children signage. These are the places where it isn't safe to swim. Stay together, always swim with an adult is a message given to younger children, but then as children get older and go into secondary school, that messaging will change. Stay together, always swim with someone else. So as they get to sort of older teenagers, always swim with someone else. The third message is if you fall in, float, breathe, and relax. So rather than panicking and trying to swim, they need to rotate quickly onto their back so that the nose and mouth is clear of the water, so that if they are doing any panics breathing because the water is cold, then their nose and mouth is clear of the water and they're not going to be taking water on board. And they float and relax until their breathing regulates. And then if somebody else is in trouble, call 999, never go in the water to try and rescue somebody, because then instead of having one casualty, there may end up multiple casualties. So that messaging is really important. It's one that you can share with parents as well, those 4 key messages. Reinforce those messages in an age appropriate way right the way through school, and not just once for Drowning Prevention Week, but right the way through the school programme. So I'm going to play you a video of an example activity that can be done to teach the water safety programme. Oh, it won't play. Let me just try and play it again. So each activity that's in the charter, there is a corresponding video with a description how to perform the activity, but also at what point during your school swimming and water safety programme it would be appropriate to use that activity, whether it's before the lessons as a priority, whether it's during or after the lessons. So there's lots of activities that can be done at the pool as well, which are water safety activities. And if as supporting school staff, you're able to know what each of these activities are, you can really support with the progressions of the lesson and speed up how quickly the children are learning within the lesson. Water safety activities will be taught regularly throughout a school swimming and water safety programme. They're not just taught on Water Safety Week. Some school swimming lesson providers may do specific water safety weeks, but a lot of these skills will be taught regularly throughout. What quite often happens in school swimming programmes is that the 25 metres becomes the priority, but we need to be making sure that the school swimming and water safety lessons are appropriate to supporting meeting the safe self-rescue in different water-based situations outcome. So practicing regaining feet in the pool from a float into a standing position, practicing different floats, getting the children to do guided discovery, working out how they can float, which positions in the water their body floats the best. Doing treading water where they're doing a sculling action with their hands, but they're using different leg actions to see how they can keep their face above the water when in a vertical position in deep water. Rotating from front to back to front, going from front to back like flipping. So lots of different rotations and changes of direction. They should be doing aquatic breathing, blowing out into the water. That can also be practiced at school with blowing with straws. So if the children do fall into the water, they're comfortable at blowing out and having good aquatic breathing in the water. Resurfacing, pulling with their hands to resurface and pressing down with their hands to get their head clear of the water. Practicing exiting in emergency situations. A good way of doing that is exiting onto a raft as well, where the raft is moving, so it makes it more challenging for them to climb out. Doing the falling entry, where the children are protecting their head and performing a falling entry, where it is risk assessed for that activity to be safe. Practicing those retaining heat positions, the heat escape lessening position and the huddle position where they're huddling with peers can all be practiced in the pool. So a lot of these water safety activities that are done in the pool can have been practiced at school the week before. So when the swimming teacher is asking them to perform these skills, the children have already done them dry side, so they're comfortable to get on and practice those skills in the water. So it really does then speed up the progression within the school swimming and water safety lesson. So in terms of resources, Swim England has a great deal of resources that are available to you that are free of charge. So the School Swimming and Water Safety Charter is our digital resources. So these resources on the charter are all free to access. So the QR code that's on the screen now, you can use that QR code to be able to go to the registration page of the charter. And on the charter, there's a full range of certificates. So it's the School Swimming and Water Safety Charter Awards. There are the core awards, which most children will work through. And there are also the foundation awards for those children with special educational needs and disabilities, or for your very nervous participants who may struggle to work through the core awards. So there's a great range of awards for the children to work through. There are some sample lesson plans for you to be able to utilise to then develop your own lesson plans to ensure that the practices are progressive and relevant for the children that you're working with. There are some guidance documents, videos of sample activities. There are classroom activities and cross-curricular link ideas. Some attainment templates for those of you who go to a school swimming lesson provider who doesn't have digital provision and they're using pen and paper. You might find those attainment templates useful for you. There's some template communications. There's a water safety presentation that the children can do at school. We have a great character called Oscar the Otter who does an animated school swimming and water safety presentation that you can use at school. And we also have the charter logo, which you might want to use on your communications with parents or on your website, for example. We have some purchasable resources as well. So a really good resource is the Swim England Water Safety Activity Pack, which is able to be used on poolside. It doesn't matter if it gets wet, and all those water safety games and activities that are appropriate for a school swimming and water safety programme are within that activity pack as well. A really good resource to have is the water safety question cards. So when children are waiting after they've completed an activity, they can be asking each other these questions, they can be answering them. School staff on poolside can use the cards on the coach, on poolside, at school. And again, if children are waiting for the turn, it's a really good resource to use to make sure that children are constantly learning. The Oak National Academy resources, the physical education section, Swim England has recently supported PE Scholar in the development of some Oak National Academy resources. So there's a great bank of resources on there for you to access free of charge. Each of the school swimming lessons has video footage of how to do each of the activities, which are on the corresponding lesson plan. There is an entry and exit quiz for each lesson plan, and the lesson plans all linked to the physical literacy consensus statement, thinking about how the children think, feel and move and connect with the activities that they're doing. So I would definitely recommend that you go onto the Oak National Academy resources. There are some dry side lesson plans that you can do at school, and there are some water-based lesson plans as well. So yeah, there's some great quizzes, lots of videos, and there are teaching strategies to increase and decrease the level of challenge for each lesson. So on the screen there is the QR code that will link you directly to Oak National Academy to be able to see the school swimming and water safety charter resources. The Institute of Swimming, which is an approved training centre for Swim England courses, has a range of school swimming CPDs which may be relevant for you or your colleagues to increase your knowledge of school swimming and water safety so that you're comfortable and confident to support or teach on poolside a school swimming and water safety programme. So the QR code on the screen there takes you through to the Institute of Swimming for further information on training and courses for school swimming. On the screen now is a QR code which will take you directly through to a school swimming questionnaire. This questionnaire will take you about 10 to 15 minutes to complete, and upon completion you will receive bespoke recommendations for your school swimming and water safety programme. You'll receive a percentage score in a number of areas. The results won't be shared anywhere wider. It is just for you for reference to see where you can improve your school swimming and water safety, where you can improve collaboration with any external swimming lesson providers, if there are any red flags in terms of health and safety, and what you can do as a school to collaborate to ensure that the children and young people that you're working with have the best possible school swimming and water safety journey. So I've covered all of the content there today in the slides. So we do have a school swimming inbox. So if you do have any questions at all in relation to school swimming and water safety, the email address that is on the screen there, please direct any inquiries that you may have to that email address, and we will be happy, myself or any of my colleagues, to support you with your school swimming and water safety programme. It may be simple questions like about goggle usage, it may be more detailed question about an individual pupil, for example, but we are more than happy to help support your school swimming and water safety programmes wherever we can. So I'm going to stop sharing now, but if anybody does have any questions, please feel free to jump off. So could you not hear the sound on the video now? I can replay.
No, but that might be my fault, Lorna.
I will
Sorry, I've just jumped in on someone asking a question. I'll be quiet.
I'll replay the video and see if the sound works now. Can you hear it now? This game can be taught before or during and even after your school swimming and water safety programme. The rules for the Water Safety Code are an important set of rules to keep people safe when they are in, on or around water. Pupils move around the teaching station or stand in a space. When the teacher shouts a rule number from the water safety code, pupils must perform the corresponding action. Rule number 1. Stop and think. Always swim in a safe place. Pupils simulate looking for a safe place to swim. Rule number 2. Stay together. Always swim with an adult. Pupils simulate moving towards an adult and swimming within arm's reach. Rule number 3 of the Water Safety Code. Float. If you fall in, float, breathe and relax. Pupils simulate performing a star float. Rule number 4 of the Water Safety Code. 999. If you or anybody else is in trouble in the water, dial 999. Never enter the water to perform a rescue. Pupils simulate making a telephone call, dialing 999. Okay, have we got any questions? Is there anything in the chat, Wendy, that I've missed now? If anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, or if you want to come off mute and give us a shout if you've got any questions. No, I think that's the no then.
Zena, did you have a question earlier? I thought I'd interrupted you, maybe not.
No,
Okay.
it wasn't a question, no, but thank you for checking. Thank you. Appreciate it.
No worries. Impeccable timing, Lorna. Well done. Hi, Sean. Did you have an ask a question?
I've finished my lunch now. Can I ask a quick question? Goggles
Finished your lunch?
in the water. So what we currently do, I have 2 swim teachers that work with me, and we don't use goggles at all because we go with the you don't normally fall in the water, or if you're around water you're going to have goggles. So I'm just checking that this is okay, because sometimes parents we can clearly see a child who swims perfectly well with goggles. We call them our goggle swimmers. When they then get in the water, when we test them, they fail because they just don't like getting there. But we stick with we bob them onto the next group because they have to be without goggles. So I'm just checking is there any kind of rule or thoughts on this?
Yeah, so the goggle guidance document on the Swim England School Swimming and Water Safety Charter. So it has some details on goggle usage. So it has some of the points that you've raised there, Sian, about you don't walk down the street with a pair of goggles on and fall in necessarily with a pair of goggles on. So it does say, it states on the guidance that children may be asked to remove goggles for certain aspects of the national curriculum. But if children are attending longer school swimming lessons, and if, for example, they do get irritated eyes, the goggle usage guidance says what type of goggles they should be able to wear, who is responsible for the goggles, that they should be able to put them on appropriately and they're not pulling them away from the face. But it does state on there to inform parents that for the safe self-rescue element of the national curriculum, they should be able to swim without goggles on. Okay. Because they do need to be able to fall in, open their eyes, look where they're going, resurface without a pair of goggles on. But yeah, for a lot of school swimming lessons, particularly if they're in the water for a longer period of time, it's really busy session. There's that risk assessment of goggles versus no goggles. And in some instances, it's better to have them if they're swimming for a longer period of time and just take them off for the safe self-rescue. On a really busy session, it might be better not to have them on in case they get, sort of kicked in the face. Okay. So it's that risk versus the benefits. When you're working on strokes, so for example, if you're working on front crawl, they might be better off having the goggles on because they're putting the face in. We're trying to get a regular breathing pattern. But for example, if they're doing the heat escape lessening position, they might be doing a treading water action, looking for a floating piece of equipment, holding on to that equipment, then they wouldn't have goggles on for that scenario. So yeah, bit of both.
No,
but going
cool.
to the
it's so tricky. I've got a really, really nervous swimmer at the moment in my swim group. And he came last week and was fine, and then this week he didn't come because we have our lessons on a Monday, and I'm like, I need to get this child past, but I think a lot of it is because of the goggles. He just wants to be wearing the goggles. So I just thought, I just want to check this. I appreciate with the water safety bit, if I can get him swimming for the next 3 weeks and being confident, and then when it comes to it, we take the goggles off sort of thing. But I just wanted quite to check. Thank you, I appreciate it.
A lot do a combination of the two. So for some of the lesson, they'll ask the children to remove the goggles, and then they're not swimming for a long period of time without them. And you're just getting used to every lesson, not having them on for some elements of the lesson.
Okay,
It's a
thank
good
you.
way to- yeah, but have a nosy at the charter and get that guidance document, and then you can share with your families then. Any other questions? No, I think that's perfect timing then.
Well done, Lorna. Thank you very much for that.
No problems at all.
We will share the I've got the slide deck now, so I can share that with schools. And obviously there's the school swimming email address that you can go directly to if needs be as well. But thank you very much, Lorna, for your time today. That was really useful. And if there are no other questions, we'll stop the recording there.